I was doing more of the specialized master's part of my university education, we were involved in a few research projects, EU research projects, and doing publications. And I remember that kind of the academic space feels a little corporate in that end in terms of how they are getting funding, who gets those research projects, how important the publications are, how many people are citing your publication. And sometimes it feels like that the academic space is way less collaborative than one would expect it to be. Because if you're doing research, as just a regular average human being, I would think that the point is to collaborate on the research so you have more findings and, more input. But at the same time, having that very little experience in terms of how that space actually works and how much it matters which publication your name is on and how many publications your name is on, and that your name is on it and not your, the person next to you. So I assume that kind of also feeds into the complications of how you bring open source into this space. But Emily, please correct me if my observation is wrong, because my experience was a long time ago now.
I think we're like figuring it all out right now. So I think it's kind of messy. But I do think there's so much conversation happening right now, even more broadly around like open science, that I think is like so cool and inspiring. And like we had scientists at our symposium last week that I was like, wow, like open source is enabling like these kinds of research that I hadn't even like thought about to just be way more accessible. So I think that is like super cool. And I think people are still figuring out like how to capture credit in a way that feels like true to the fact that open source relies on so many different people contributing often, and how to like leverage that in an academic space. But I think like the flip side is that I think for me personally, at least, like I found it to be very much like an oasis in academia, because it is a space where people are just like more explicitly working together towards common goals. And like that feels like pretty novel for me in an academic space. I think everything that you said about like academia, having this reputation for like people competing, and it's true. Like I think whether it's intentional or not, it's just the way the system is structured. People are racing to publish the paper first and get the most credit for it. And so I think that I, for a long time, didn't even see myself like finishing my PhD, or I mean, definitely not doing a postdoc. And I think that a lot of what's like kept me in academia is having found like a place in academia that is more collaborative. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Like, even though we're still figuring out a lot, I think about how to still capture value under academic, like the academic system. I think it's just so super cool that it's happening, that this space exists.